I'm Chris Teese. I'm the chair of Brain Tumour Support New Zealand, and welcome to our first ever Brain Tumour Support New Zealand Patient and Caregiver Meeting. I'm going to put it out there right from the start. I'd rather not be here. And I guess that there's many of you out there who would rather not be here either. And I say this because most of us are here because one day we heard, or our loved ones heard, a doctor say these words, "I'm sorry to tell you that you have a brain tumour." And from that day on, as patients or caregivers or friends and family members, we often experience feelings of hopelessness or feelings of that you're out of control, that things are happening to you that you can't do anything about. Well, this meeting is going to go some way, I hope, to rectifying those feelings. It's about finding empowerment when everything feels out of control. It's about finding hope when everything feels hopeless. It's about finding connection with others who may be going through the same thing that you're going through. As Caroline said, we have a wonderful lineup of speakers this morning, and we're very grateful that they're sparing part of their weekend to share their knowledge and experience with us. We don't want this to be like going back to school, so we encourage you to ask questions and take the opportunity to connect with people here today in the room. I want to thank Caroline for organising this meeting. She did most of the donkey work. I'd like to, as she has done already, thank Servier Australia for sponsoring the meeting. I'd also like to thank NANOS, the New Zealand Aotearoa Neuro-Oncology Society chairs, Catherine and Thomas, and Secretariat Susan Lee, who I suspect does all the donkey work at NANOS as well, for helping promote and support this meeting. So before we get on to the guest speakers, I've got a short presentation, and I'll make it short, about Brain Tumour Support New Zealand, who we are and what we do. So we're formed 5 years ago, June 2019. And these are the culprits, Mandy, Gavin, and myself. Mandy resigned as a trustee earlier this year, so she guided us through the first 2 or 3 years of the charity's formation. The 3 things I'd like to say about Brain Tumour Support New Zealand. The first one is that we're brain tumour support, not brain cancer support. And that's to acknowledge all the people with what we don't like to call, but are often called benign brain tumours or the lower grade tumours. So we support all types of brain tumours. Second thing was support. We wondered what to call the charity's name, and we put support in the name because we're all people with lived experience, either as patients like Mandy or Gavin and myself were caregivers. And we wanted to provide support to people based on the lived experience that we had. I'll skip through our mission, vision, and values. They're in the brochures that you may have picked up from out the front. When we started, we had most of our trustees had lived experience. Currently, 5 of our 6 trustees have lived experience of a brain tumour. We thought there's not going to be a cure for brain tumours overnight, so we wanted to found a charity that had strong governance. So we put a lot of effort into that, and we also formed a medical advisory board as one of the first things we did in 2020. And these are the members of our medical advisory board. I'm pleased to see some of them here this morning. We started off with no paid staff, so we were just a dedicated working board of trustees. In July 2021, we hired a support coordinator at half of a full-time person. And Sarah Veron came on board in January at 0.67 FTE. She's coming later on this morning. So you can see that right from the start, we really, what you call it, run on the smell of an oily rag, I guess is the best description. Through the work of the trustees and really just over one full-time person even today. And that means we've had to rely on volunteers. So we have currently around 60 volunteers. All of our support group facilitators are volunteers. Our mentors or support friends are volunteers. We have a team that does our brain boxes. We have people who help maintain the website, and so many people that are not in the 60 people actually. They fundraise for us. And I think there's some people here who fundraisers for us. So how we are funded, we don't receive any money from the government. Our fundraising includes our Brainy Beanies campaign, which is going great guns at the moment. The weather is great for selling beanies. And this year we've launched a new fundraising platform called No Going Back, and it's based on the concept that when you're diagnosed with a brain tumour, there's no going back. And we encourage people to take on challenges and tasks or hold events, and once they commit, there's no going back. Donations are very important to us, and again, we have some donors coming this morning, and we thank them very much for their support. Corporate sponsorships and grants. Like the Lotteries Commission. So when you win the 50 million tonight, please don't forget about us. So when we formed the charity, we wondered what we should do. And we started off with identifying really the feelings that people newly diagnosed with brain tumours experience, and finding the antidotes, if you like, to those feelings, and turning those antidotes into true measures of support. So the first one was fear. The second was isolation or loneliness. And the third one was a loss of control. So we thought the antidote to fear was information and education, and particularly information that was New Zealand centric. So it was in the New Zealand context, because before Brain Tumour Support New Zealand's website, people would go on and Google brain tumours, and they'd end up at an overseas website, typically a UK one or an American one. And those weren't particularly relevant to New Zealand. Isolation, so connecting with others. And a lot of people tell us that while they were getting support from friends and family, a lot of those people weren't really in tune or didn't truly understand what they were going through. And they only found that when they were connected with others who were going through a brain tumour diagnosis. Loss of control is a big one, and it's really hard. What we found was that empowerment and through advocacy, so joining together behind a common cause and doing things like fundraising or raising awareness is one way of giving you a voice and sort of getting back some of that control. And the last one we thought was hope right through from being diagnosed and right through your brain tumour experience. And for hope, we think the antidote is knowledge, which comes through research. So that's one of the mantras we have at Brain Tumour Support on our research side, is that research is a manifestation of hope. So that information and education, The website is the first port of call, and pretty much everything is on the website. So if you haven't gone onto the website, please do and go through the information there. One of the first publications we did was we adapted a set of 7 patient guides. These came from Brain Trust UK, and we adapted them for New Zealand conditions and had them reviewed by members of our medical advisory board to make sure they were accurate for New Zealand. And we put these patient guides into a brain box, which is our care and information package that we send free to people newly diagnosed with a brain tumour or their caregivers. And inside the brain box are the patient guides, plus lots of little well-being gifts like a wheat pack, and there's a brainy beanie in there, and lots of other goodies for people who can sort of sit down, read the patient guides and relax. We have a quarterly email newsletter, goes out to around 1,000 people every 3 months. And we have very active social media channels. So we have 3 Facebook groups. And they're great. There's probably close to 800 members across those 3 groups now. There's one for patients, one for caregivers, and one for parents. Connecting with others. So we have a one-to-one peer support network called Support Friends. We consulted with the American Brain Tumour Association, who have a similar program, and we took a lot of their ideas and adapted it for New Zealand. So it's one-to-one support. People will apply through the website, and they're matched with a support friend mentor. We have 5 Zoom groups that meet monthly. They're split into caregivers and patients, high grade and low grade. So those 4 groups. And we have a bereavement group as well. And the Facebook groups that I mentioned before, 3 Facebook groups. The good thing about these, unlike the monthly groups where you have to be there a certain time on that day every month, they're 24/7. And as I said, there's close to 800 members across the groups. So there's a lot of accumulated knowledge in there. And one of the things I've found is that, of course, things change. And, you know, if you were in hospital 3, 4, 5 years ago, it might have been different to today. And the Facebook groups have people who are newly diagnosed and have been through it and can share what's happening right at the moment. Everything from hospital visits, follow-up MRI scans, things like that. Advocacy and awareness. It comes really into 2 separate things. One is raising awareness, often through fundraising events, and the other one is our patient advocacy work in terms of submitting to public policy, health policy, campaigning for things like medicines access, attending conferences, writing letters of support to researchers or to clinicians as well for getting extra services at their hospital. As I say, research, we think research is the manifestation of hope, and we've taken aboard various research topics that we want to support. We don't financially support research at the moment because we don't have the funds to do so, but we're hopeful that in the future we will be able to provide research grants. When we were set up originally, we made a conscious decision to provide support to adult brain tumour patients only. And the reason we did that was, well, firstly, we didn't have any experience of paediatrics. But really the main reason was that we recognised that paediatrics and adults are completely, well, very much different. diseases and requiring different supports. But ever since we did set up, we got inquiries from our parents wanting to know if, wanting support as well. So we began rolling out our pediatric support services in 2022, firstly with an adapted brain box, which we called a brain box for kids. And that's got, we partnered with another charity called Frankie to the Rescue for that. They provide a lot of the stuff in that brain box. There's a $100 supermarket voucher. There's various toys for children, age appropriate. There's child's brainy beanies, and there's an education guide, which is our first standalone publication, which we produced also in 2022, about helping kids integrate back into the school system. We have a dedicated Facebook group for parents, and we have our own a dedicated website for parents, which links off our Brain Tumour Support New Zealand website. Collaboration is very important to us. We can't do everything alone, and these are some of the groups that we collaborate with in New Zealand and internationally. So that brings us to our patient and caregiver meeting, the first in-person meeting that we've had for patients and caregivers. Long time coming. I guess that's what you get when you start a charity during a global pandemic. But yeah, as I say, I'd rather not be here, but I'm glad I am. I'm glad that you guys are here too.